how much you put into the game, how much work ethic are you gonna put into it every single day, day in and day out. I've never cheated the process on wanting to be great in this game. I knew I had a God-given ability, but that only takes you so far if you don't use that ability and start putting in work every single day.
LeBron James has said it publicly again and again with absolute confidence. He has never cheated the game. Those are his words. So when a respected NBA voice rolls the footage, points directly at the scoreboard, and asks what exactly was happening in that fourth quarter, the silence from Team LeBron suddenly feels very loud. Now the question shifts to you. At this stage in his career, is LeBron still truly competing at the highest level, or is he simply stacking records until there are none left to chase? Be honest.
At what point are you going to start showing his age?
Like 4 years ago.
Can you show the video of LeBron again, man?
Don't that look like that meme where they put the cigarette in his mouth?
That's Miami Bron. He got the thin neck.
Some would call the Ozempic neck.
At some point, you going to start the season and then not play for 20 games and come back. You better not come out there dunking it. I don't want to see no dunks.
So when people say, is he declining? We was in a league where when he jumped, his chin was over the rim.
Yeah, you know he declined.
Over the rim. Now, you see this. It looked good for them because they don't remember the guy who was sitting here looking at the rim. Now we see him on a fast break. We can see, yeah, he's slow, right? He used to be 110 speed out of 100. Now he probably, 91, 92? That was that LeBron. This LeBron, he does look old.
Let's drop the polite version of this conversation for a second. Because there is a version where everyone tiptoes around the subject, careful, respectful, protective of the legacy, where nobody actually says the uncomfortable truth sitting right in the middle of the room. But Ric Bucher wasn't interested in that version. Speaking on the ball, he said it plainly, LeBron has been staying in games specifically to reach statistical milestones so often, that it's starting to feel routine.
LeBron James has stayed in games to achieve some sort of statistical mark so routinely now that we're almost numb to it. The latest being the oldest player to ever achieve a triple-double. Can't remember who they were playing. I just know that the game was out of hand. There was no reason for him to be on the floor. I believe Austin Reeves ended up grabbing 2 rebounds that LeBron wanted so that he could complete the triple-double and get off the floor.
And that word routine is everything. Routine doesn't mean a one-time mistake. It doesn't mean a rare lapse in judgment. Routine means a pattern. It means if you've been watching closely, you've seen this before, and you recognized it immediately when it happened again. The moment Bucher pointed to? February 13, 2026. LeBron James, 41 years, 44 days old, against the Dallas Mavericks. Final stat line, 28 points, 12 assists, 10 rebounds. Another triple-double. Another headline writes itself, oldest player in NBA history to do it.
We are set for action here on Prime. LaRavia to James, 3-on-1 developing. Board. 5-on-4, Williams slow to get up. James is going to hoist and hit a 3. He can do a whole lot with that in terms of creativity. Corner, Hachimura looking.
How good can your zone be adapting to what each other team's trying to do to you?
Shake and bake. James flings it up. It's good and a foul. He turns it over. James. The locomotive to the rim.
Unfortunately tonight.
In transition, LeBron James fighting through waves of defenders, and he gets the roll. Hayes clears it. LeBron,
oh my. The same team.
Yeah, same
It's true. I don't want to create any divides between studio and booth.
Yeah.
The cameras locked in. The arena acknowledged it. The internet celebrated it. Another milestone. Another historic moment. Another record that belongs only to LeBron James. But Ric Bucher saw something different. The game was already over, he pointed out. There was no real competitive reason for LeBron to still be on the floor. And then came the moment that raised even more eyebrows. At one point, Austin Reeves, a teammate with nothing to gain, appeared to secure rebounds that LeBron was chasing, helping him reach the triple-double, before subbing out immediately after. And just like that, what looked like history to some, started to look very different to others.
The guy staying around at age 41 just to get an extra rebound, just to say in the history books, when everybody forgets how it was done, that he was the oldest guy to get a triple-double, that is stat chasing. That is undermining the statistical achievement. And with LeBron, he loves to say that he's never cheated the game. And it seems like not only with LeBron, but a lot of people these days, every declaration is actually a confession.
Hear that again, slowly. A 41-year-old LeBron James, in a game that was already decided, appeared to be competing, not against the opponent, but against his own teammate, for rebounds. Not to help the team. Not because the result was still in question. But because he needed one more. One more rebound, to lock in a triple-double, to secure another place in the record books, and then he could finally sit down. Let that sink in. Because this is the same player who has said, repeatedly and confidently, that he has never cheated the game. And that's exactly where Ric Bucher delivered the sharpest line of the entire discussion. Some declarations don't sound like denials anymore. They start to sound like confessions. And what that really means is simple. The more often someone insists they're not doing something, the more carefully you should watch what they actually do. Because actions don't echo. They reveal. And for years now, LeBron James has been telling the world he has never cheated the game. But every time he stays on the floor in a finished game, every time he pushes just a little longer for a stat, every time a milestone is within reach and suddenly becomes the focus, that statement gets a little harder to believe. Now here's where this situation goes from questionable to uncomfortable. The Los Angeles Lakers aren't struggling. They're winning. 41-25. Top of the Pacific Division. On a strong run. A real contender in the Western Conference. This isn't a team clinging to relevance. This is a team with a real shot. Which means if LeBron's goal is truly what he says it is, one more championship, a fifth ring, competing at the highest level, then the focus should be obvious. The playoffs are weeks away. Every possession, every minute, every ounce of energy should be preserved for that. So why isn't that what people are talking about? Why is the conversation dominated by a triple-double? In a blowout? Against the Dallas Mavericks? That doesn't happen by accident. That's not random. That's a choice. Because when winning is the only priority, moments like that fade into the background. You don't stay on the floor chasing rebounds when your body has 20-plus seasons of mileage. You don't risk unnecessary wear and tear when a playoff run is right around the corner. You sit down. You rest. You trust your teammates. Unless the milestone matters. Unless the record is part of the objective. Unless legacy, how the career looks, how it's remembered, how it's ranked, is still being actively managed in real time. And that brings everything into sharper focus. Because look at what's happening around him. Austin Reeves is having a breakout season, nearly 24 points a night, stepping into a major role, becoming a key piece of a first-place team. Then there's Luka Doncic. Over 30 points per game. The engine. The centerpiece. The player this team now runs through. Everyone sees it. The fans know it. The front office knows it. The coaching staff knows it. This is Luka's team. So where does that leave LeBron? Still productive, around 21 points, solid assists, valuable experience. But no longer the central force driving wins. He's part of the system now, not the system itself. And that's exactly why these moments stand out even more. Because when you're no longer the number one option, when the team's success doesn't depend entirely on you, there's no competitive justification left for staying in a blowout chasing history. Now look at the bigger picture. All-time leading scorer. Over 50,000 combined points. Passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Top 5 in triple-doubles. At this point, the NBA record book doesn't just include LeBron James. It revolves around him. And to be fair, a lot of that is real greatness. Sustained excellence. Longevity at an elite level. 2 decades of dominance. But longevity itself is a decision. And when that decision is made while tracking records, while knowing exactly what's within reach, while adjusting your approach with those milestones in mind, those achievements start to feel a little more calculated than organic. Then there's Bronny James. Drafted by the Lakers. Immediate backlash. One word everywhere: nepotism. And whether people agree or not, it added another layer to the conversation. Another example, critics would say, of circumstances being shaped around LeBron's personal goals. Because this isn't just about one game. It's not just about one rebound. It's about a pattern. A pattern of control. A pattern of influence. A pattern of carefully aligning career moments with personal milestones. And then presenting it all as being purely about winning. And again, there's nothing wrong with having personal goals. Every great athlete does. But the credibility issue begins when everything is framed as selfless. Because selfless players don't chase stats and blowouts. Selfless players don't need milestones to define their impact. Selfless players don't create situations that constantly circle back to themselves. That's not selflessness. That's legacy management. And Ric Bucher isn't speculating. He's reacting to what's visible. What the tape shows. What the moments suggest. What the pattern confirms. LeBron James is 41 years old. On a team already transitioning into its next era. Still chasing milestones in games that are already finished. While continuing to say he has never cheated the game. But the game doesn't forget. It keeps track. It keeps evidence. It keeps receipts. And now, for the first time in a long time, people are starting to actually look at them. Because no matter how great a career is, greatness doesn't come with immunity from questions. So now the conversation is here. Is this just another chapter in an all-time great career? Or is this the moment where legacy management starts to overshadow